America's next big franchise, sharing strategies to help businesses grow.
Welcome to the America's Next Big Franchise podcast with our host, Rick Grossman, author of Entrepreneur Magazine's Franchise Bible and founder and CEO of Franchise Bible Coach. Now, here is your host.
Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of America's Next Big Franchise. And so the whole point of this podcast is to educate, share secrets, give ideas, and we're going to have a combination of brand new franchises that have launched and are growing like crazy, some that are in the initial stages, maybe even preparing, and we're going to bring back some seasoned veterans that really have been extremely successful in the industry. And we're starting here with one of those gentlemen today with Nick-Anthony Zamucen. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Hey, my guy, Rick, what's up, man? Good.
Yeah, so excited to have you. You know, I thought about out of all the people I've ever met in franchising, and I worked with you guys back when you were working with your franchise B.O.R, which is wildly successful. And of course, along the way, Best Option Restoration came to fruition. And we were there to kind of witness that whole beginning stages. And now you're growing like crazy and have successful franchises growing all over the country, right?
That's right. No, I mean, you and I have known each other for, gosh, about 15 years now, I think, or something like that. It's been a while. I mean, I remember the triplets being small, and now they're
Yes.
22.
Yeah, for the audience, we have triplets, a boy and two girls that are now in their early 20s.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that goes back quite a ways. And
Yep.
your kids, of course, remember them when they were running around, and now they're growing up as well. That's what those kids do. That they're like a barometer that tells us how old we're getting, right?
That's
Because
See,
we
so
have
social media tends to make us feel like we're a lot more connected than we actually are, because we see each other all the time, but we
Yeah.
don't get a chance to actually converse. So this is
That's right. That's right. It's nice to catch up with you. So I just wrote out some notes here. I want to give everybody kind of let them know a little bit about who you are, because you're a very humble guy, and you don't tell your story very often. So I'll tell it for you. So Nick has launched multiple national franchise brands across wildly different industries in the past, and current, or actually the most recent huge success was Trauma Cleanup, and that was B.O.R. And give them a little bit of background about what B.O.R is and was and is continuing to be, if you will.
Yeah, no, B.O.R was at the time the first. There's copycats out there now, but it was the first and only true successfully franchised crime and trauma cleaning business.
Yeah.
And it was a fun thing to spearhead for about a decade. It had a motto back then of help first, business second, which I believe they continue to preach today. And B.O.R was a love, really a loving your neighbor type of franchise. They got into the people that got into those franchisees that got into franchise with B.O.R was, they were doing it, because they really wanted to help, and it was such a cool time to be around, to watch a group of people that, you know, sure wanted to make money and create a business, but really wanted to help their neighbor or help somebody in the greatest time of need. And it was fun to create, and it was fun to be there. I still communicate with a few of them. A lot of the franchisees, franchises, like any business, they come and go and sell, and so there's only a handful left of what I would call the original ones that were with me, under me. I sold it 4 years ago now, but you know, it, I think the mission is still the same, which is really to help first and do the business second, and try to really be solid in your community, and do something of value. So it's a very, it's a prideful thing for me to say that I was a part of that, fantastic company.
Yes, very, very important. And that's, I'll point out keys throughout, and we're going to do intros for your current franchise here in a second. But for folks listening to the podcast, maybe it's obviously the first time, right? Take notes, and the episodes are going to be very different, but take notes. You're listening to some of the most experienced, knowledgeable people in the industry. And, there's a blueprint that Nick's created in his franchise, and you'll see that there's common trends that successful franchisors and franchisees use. And one of that is truly caring about the franchise model and the people involved in it, right? It's not just a make money fast kind of a business model. It's caring, which is part of servant leadership, which I talk about in my book, Franchise Bible, of course, and then implementing a system that really does enable others to join that care and have, believe in your ethos and will go out in their communities and share that. So if you have a small business and you want to expand and it's working in your local market, you want to expand that great business across the country, then franchising is a really good fit. So whether you're a franchisor, franchisee, or franchise curious, Nick shares candid insights today. And so take notes, please, and we'll get into those. He may not share all of his secrets because he
Oh,
doesn't.
I'll give them to y'all, Rick. I mean,
Okay.
half the ones I got from you. So
Well, thank you very much. I don't know if I can take that much credit, but I appreciate it. So, intros. So, in America's Next Big Franchise, I talked about kind of the framework. We're going to see all kinds of different folks along the way. Um, Nick's already given you a little background on his experiences, and really, uh, that's just a brief introduction, right? There's a lot. If you could boil it down into an elixir that we could sell, we would be able to really have consistency. And one of the things, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly in franchising.
yeah,
And our goal here at my company, Franchise Bible Coach, is to really help people learn how to do the franchise business right and how to find the right fit, because that's one of the keys of success is a successful fit between the franchisor and the franchisee, a good match. So I'm Rick Grossman, and I'll be your host today. And my company is Franchise Bible Coach, and I've been building successful franchise models for many years. I was a franchisor myself. You can see my bio and more details on franchisebiblecoach.com and learn more about our team. So we are there. So Nick, anything else you want to say about your background or experience?
Oh, I mean, I have, I've started four different franchise companies in four different industries, like you said. I think there's some commonality to franchise in general, as far as, I think the biggest thing, like you said, was making sure that you find, not just anybody. You're not looking for a heartbeat in cash. You're looking for the right person that you can
Mhm.
train and that's coachable. Because frankly, I'm not sure. A lot of people say a lot of different things. I'll be, my opinion on this is very simple. Not everyone's cut out to be a business owner. They're
No.
just not. I mean, it's got to be something that's really deep inside you that you really want to do, because it's hard work. I mean, it's not easy, but I will tell you, when you wake up, when you wake up one day and you've exited your company for whatever that company might be, for a large multiple, and you realize that all the pain and suffering and all the frustrations of the daily minutia was worth it when you can provide for your family
Mhm.
something that very few people can.
That's a fact. And you know, I say the get rich fast is kind of a funny thing to say because it's not necessarily fast, it's doing it right. You're building a foundation that then can be duplicated. And you do have to find the right people. And not everybody is set for owning a business or a franchise. And it's not like if you have no business acumen, no experience, it may not be a good fit, right? You got to be willing to work hard and kind of adopt. And the key to success in franchising is following the system.
Yeah, yeah, it's coachability, like you said. Rick, you and I have talked about this for a decade, that you got to find people that are coachable, because not
Yes.
everybody is. Some of the best players in the NFL or Major League Baseball, they're so good because they listen to coaches.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, the best coach isn't always the best player, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best player isn't the best coach. I mean, we have some franchisees in our system that are, wildly successful, doing 3, 4, or $5 million a year, and then they look at someone who isn't, and they're almost angry at them, like, well, why can't you do it? It's like, because this is why you're not the coach. Let me coach.
Right. Yeah.
You continue to listen to me and keep growing your business, and I'll coach you. I'll coach and help the other person. But again, sometimes the best players aren't the best coaches.
That's a fact. Yes, and so the key takeaways for today are multiple franchises, growth strategy, lessons learned. So take notes of those things, and if you can implement those, and whether maybe you're not a franchise or want to be, maybe you're not a franchisee or want to be, you might just be a business owner, and the things that apply to franchises apply to just about any business. It's not like there's like magic secret sauce. I have a little bottle of, as a joke in my office, secret sauce. Everyone wants to know what the secret sauce is. It's basically building a system that has been tested, tried and true, that you can duplicate, right? And others can learn how to do it in a relatively short amount of time and implement it. And then the ongoing relationship, it's not a one and done thing, right? The franchisees agree to be coachable, but you have to stay with them, and that's the beauty of a franchise, and that why the success rate of franchises is much higher than starting your own business and just going out there on your own. People think that that's a cheaper option, which is funny, right? Because they can go out there and do it on their own, but they're going to have to go through a lot of pain and suffering and a lot of wasted money. Getting a franchise is getting on the fast track usually to doing things right, and they've they benefit from the pain and suffering that you went through when you were building your business, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I tell people when they bring up the question, well, why should I buy a franchise? Why would I pay you to do this? And I just one of the simplest things that I've just adopted throughout the years was, frankly, I know things you don't. I know where the pain points are that you haven't even thought about yet. I mean, I know
Yeah,
where the landmines are buried. My job is to help you navigate around those.
that's a good
And
point.
while we can't simply stop life and certain things are going to happen. I mean, it's business. Certain things are going to happen, just like life. Part of what you buy into a franchise is, like you said, Rick, is that proven system and model and pathway to success. I mean, what you're buying in a franchise overall is you're buying education, you're buying a timeline, you're shrinking your timeline down of success. So, it's success isn't, your ROI isn't 3.5, 4 years out, it's 18 months out because
Right.
there's not all this setbacks that you don't even know are coming and
Hmm.
things that you hadn't thought about because again, the franchise system is a system that's you can replicate and put somebody in the right person, obviously, put
Yep. Yep.
somebody in place to be in a place of to be successful and listen and be coachable and they are. It is a simple formula. It gets complicated because people make it complicated,
Yeah,
but overall, Rick, as you know, it's a pretty simple system. Just
it is.
listen. That's really
Right.
what it is. Listen and be coachable.
Right. Don't learn things the hard way. I tell my kids that
Yeah.
there's the easy way and there's the hard way. And it's not unlike, and I was a franchisor of two of my own successful brands before I became a franchise coach and developer. And we did that all the time. And I did the primary support. I had 150 locations and uh, multiple, most of the big states across the country. And it was always frustrating to see franchisees suffer when they didn't have to,
Yeah.
right? And so our job as the coaches with our clients, I always say we're kind of like the franchisor's franchisor. So when our job is to help the franchisors not go through that stuff, right? And so I say that we're like a Sherpa going up Mount Everest. We know where the crevices are, the cracks, the dangerous, the good way, the bad way, the weather, how to go through those things and unexpected things like avalanches and things like that. And that's exactly what you do as a franchisor. You help the franchisees, like you said, landmines. I like that.
Yeah.
So before we kind of get into the next topic, um, one of the things that you've done wildly successful is scaling.
Mm.
A lot of franchise companies end up going through a process of getting their documents and things. If they're not working with a coach, they'll go out and kind of DIY it. And what they don't understand is that the people around them may or may not be good franchises or franchise owners, I should say. And they kind of sell franchises to the people that come along early, what we call early adopters. And so tell us a little bit about kind of some of your keys to success for scaling and scaling the right way.
Well, I mean, I think patience is a big a big component from a franchisor or as a franchisor. You know, you go through a lot of people, and in the beginning, those early adopters, you catch lightning every so often, and you'll get 10 people that love your concept. Or I've had people come to me that say, I don't care what the, you know, I don't care what the franchise is, or I don't care what the business is. I just want to work with you. And I'm like, well, do you want to suck water out and cut out drywall? And I mean,
Right.
to do that, or you know,
Yeah.
or back in bio one was, do you want to, you know, wipe up blood? And you know, because they, you know, they'd see me on a stage, or and all of a sudden they just get this like this magnetism, like, oh, I just want to be I just want to do that. And it's like, no, you got to find the right, and because that's the easy prey. I mean, that's the, I mean, gosh, that's simply, you know, that's the low hanging fruit. You could, I mean, they'll buy whatever you ask them to buy, but
Right.
as the franchisor, especially in the beginning, the key to scaling is not just taking a heartbeat in cash, which, you know, Rick, you and I have talked about for years. It's really finding the right person who understands the system. Um, well, I'll give you a tip, and you know, this is something I've been doing for years now. Is, you know, I will do everything I can, and because people will even say this on the phone, I will do everything I can to talk you out of it.
Right.
I'll tell you all the terrible things. I'll tell you the, you know, late night phone calls and dealing with insurance companies, and you
Hmm.
know, I'll tell the franchise or the prospective franchisee, the candidate, I'll tell them all the terrible things, because
Hmm.
when you get on a call with a franchisor or a franchise salesman, what they'll do is tell you how great this is and what the margins are and how quick your ROI is, and they're selling, and there's, you know,
Yeah.
and it's not the reality. So the way I've always scaled was open and honest. You know, here, let me tell you the things that are terrible about this business, because if you find that person that can deal with the terribleness and didn't,
Yeah.
that doesn't seem terrible compared to what I do, that's not terrible, well then
Yeah.
you found yourself, because they'll love the upside, so
Oh,
tell
yeah.
all the downside first,
Yep.
because that way you can weed them out. Because last thing you want to do is, I mean, I'll tell them, look, my franchise, Best Option Restoration, you're gonna spend about $175,000. Just so you know. A lot of
Yeah.
franchisors won't even talk about that up front.
Right.
That's one of the first things out of my mouth. I want you to know what you're going to spend. It's going to be 175 to 225. Are you comfortable spending that? Because if you're
Yep.
not, it doesn't matter how much you like us, isn't for you, you know, and because you want to get, you want to thin the herd as fast as possible.
Right.
Focus on the ones that you feel, and it's always, for me, it's a lot of gut feeling as well, but it's, you want to make sure you're focusing on the ones that you feel are going to be the best fit in your systems. And let me tell you right now, another tip, you're never going to find, you're gonna strike out a few times. You're
Yeah.
gonna let a few people in that
Yeah.
you realize later, oh man, maybe that wasn't the right fit.
Yeah.
But they're yours now, so it's kind of like having a bad kid. You better deal with it. You're gonna
Gotta
be in the
fix it.
principal's
Yep.
office a few times, but boy, you created it.
Yeah.
And so you want to, you know, the tips that I can give for scaling is, one, slow down, be
Yeah.
patient, find the right franchises, not just any of them.
Yep.
For me, tell them the bad up front, because that is the bad part. I mean, there are bad parts. There were bad parts about Uncle Vito's Pizzeria. There's bad parts about St. Home Care, about BioOne, about Best Option. There are always bad things. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, don't do the easy thing, which is sell all the good, because now you're
Yeah.
selling. I don't want to sell. I'm looking for somebody that I can coach in a business, and when things start going wrong, because believe me, they do. When
Yep.
things are going wrong, I can say, remember, so and so, this is what I meant by this. So we're somewhat prepared for it. And this is now what this is the steps we're going to take to fix it. And
Right.
you know, you find those people by slowing down, interviewing well, making sure that, you know, the personality's there. Because I can tell you, to have a heartbeat in cash, a lot of times is, I don't care about the personality or who I'm working with. I just want to, I just want them to sign so bad. It's the wrong thing to do. You gotta
Yeah.
keep company culture as high as it can be. And I can
Yeah.
tell you that really starts from the top down. You're
You're
either
right.
excited and love what you're doing, and it folds down to the rest of the group, or you hate your franchise group and they're going to feel that too. So again,
Yeah.
a
Yep.
lot of it starts with you.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of good points in that intro, and we're going to get into some brand specific things here in a minute and talk about best option. But when you think about being a franchisor, uh, you go through a process to get ready for franchising. We work with our clients for 6 to 9 months, just building it and coaching them on preparing them for it, to be not only a franchisor, a successful franchisor. You can't just go out there and get a franchise disclosure document and then start rolling. That's very dangerous, right?
Yeah, I
The
tried that. I think I believe you had to help me out of that. I did that
yeah,
move.
yeah. We had a little bit of a kind of, I call it getting back on track period, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
yeah. That's a story in and of itself. But the good news is you can get back on track. If you're a new franchisor and I call it stuck in the gap. There's a tremendous amount of franchisors that did that. They got the franchise documents, or they even went to a franchise attorney, and the franchise attorney gave them documents, and maybe they're good documents. But then what? You're starting a whole new business. You don't know anything about franchising, and now you maybe sell a couple to some customers or even family members,
Mhm.
and they weren't really a good fit. I call those in the book early enthusiasts, not early adopter. I kind of think of my dog when I get home from being out for 5 minutes. The dog thinks I was never coming back, and I come back and they are very excited and they jump around. And that's the excitement that you see from enthusiasts that say, wow, you're franchising. I want one. And if you've ever seen the movie, the early stages, Ray Kroc, uh, story of McDonald's, that's what he did. Is he sold them to the guys at the club, and they turned out to not be business folks, right? And so we want to make sure that you get the right early adopters. But when you look at the success long term, you have to build it right and spend the time. And then you have to start your early adopter phase, right? It doesn't make any sense to go out to the general public and just start selling franchises like mad. So I have a whole process for that. But you kind of gave them some gold nuggets there, and um, being fully prepared and then choosing the right people is golden. And actually, my franchise attorney many, many, many years ago gave me the same advice. He goes, people are going to want to buy them, and you're going to have to say no. And saying no is way more valuable than saying yes.
Yeah.
Because those, like you said, if you get people in the system that really aren't a good fit, now you have them, right? And it's not like selling a barbecue where you're selling them something and you're probably never going to see them again. These people are with you, and I won't call it a partnership because it's not, but they're part of your company, and uh, you have somebody that you want to help become successful, and so you got to be very selective in that process. And we take our clients through a 7-step, or our franchisees through a 7-step process, interviews and little tasks and things like that, to make sure that they can really see everything and make a educated decision. And I call it a mutual discovery process. They're learning about us, we're learning about them, and by the time we get down to signing a franchise agreement, they're pretty aware of everything, and we know we want them, and that's important, and that's our clients, of course. But tell us a little bit about best option restoration, what the franchisees perform in the field, and then how that came about.
Yeah, no, I mean, best option restoration, there's about 80 of them running around the country right now, ranked in the franchise 500. So that was
Yes,
great.
congratulations. I saw that.
It's always nice to see you when Entrepreneur Magazine wants to say something nice about you.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
no, they perform, water, fire, mold mitigation and rebuilds. So the putbacks after they pull things out,
Mhm.
drywall, flooring, etc. We use thermal technology, so we're the only franchise system out there using thermal technology. Which is really no different than The way I've always described it is, there's two ways you can wash clothes. You can wash them, in a bucket and then hang them to dry and let the wind blow them. And that's the old traditional way of restoration. Or you can do what we do and use technology to your advantage. And we use something, which we actually build, heaters or
Mm,
containment to heat things up, and we build dryers. So
mm,
so we get, we'll contain an area and heat it to about 110 degrees and just speed up the evaporation process in the sense of water. So it's just thermal
nice.
technology. We're just out there being a little bit faster and using technology to our advantage. We just don't want to be a man in a van with a fan. There's a
Like
lot of
that.
those out there, and then we don't want to be one. So
Yeah.
our franchisees have a little advantage when it comes to actually doing the work and marketing as well. So, it's done well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Uh, Probably great for people that want to have a little freedom. They don't want to be sitting behind a counter all day. And
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is, our ideal franchise, and it's, we have men and women that own our franchises. But I mean the avatar, if you will, is, 25 to 55 that just want to get out, shake hands and kiss some babies, have,
Mhm.
be a productive member in society and, help people when bad things go wrong. I mean, the way best option restoration came about was what was happening, it stems from Bio1. What was happening was our franchisees over at Bio1 would remove sheetrock or flooring, and then we were calling, other restoration companies to come put the stuff back for people. And the other restoration companies were making our franchisees look bad because they'd show up late, they didn't look professional, they just, I mean, you name it, they did it wrong. And so I decided in 2016, you know what? And this is when I stepped away from Bio1 and I sold it in 21 or whatever. Sold Bio1 in 21, but I stepped away for 5 years. So in 2016, I stepped away from Bio1 and created Best Option Restoration because I was like, look, I'm going to create a company that Bio1 can work with, and it can be a much better, if not the best option from anybody else out there. And I'm going to use technology to my advantage to speed up the process. And I saw holes in, as I worked more in the restoration industry, I saw holes in the industry that were easily filled, that again, no one wanted to do just because they just wanted to have everything be status quo. Well, I
Yeah.
like to challenge status quo quite a bit. And, and so
Yeah.
we've created best option restoration to, not only help our, what used to be our old franchises out. Again, I sold the company back in 21, but what we've done is we've created a company that is kind of bigger, faster, and better than our competition out there, and that's what's made our franchisees so successful.
Very good. Well, yeah. I like how you pointed out status quo because there's a lot of models out there. What we want to point out from the very beginning is what are the differentiators? How are you better, faster, like you said, better service, and that way the franchisees can compete favorably. They start a brand new business, you're putting them on the fast track because you have all your systems and marketing and technology and so forth. And when they get out there and start connecting with customers, they have to be different, be the obvious choice, I say, or what I say, the wow factor, right? Kind of get there on their feet quickly, make it easy for them, support them from the corporate office, and keep educating them and keep building. Um, let's talk about a little bit about what you see in the future, what you see now happening with technology, and how things are shaping up in that area. A lot of people have questions about that. Or is AI and robots going to take over jobs and things that people may look at as a threat? But how can we see those technologies help franchise owners?
Well, I can tell you, I mean, AI will take over jobs. It's not going to take over our jobs.
Right.
I mean, what we do, one of the reasons why I like building service type industries in the franchise systems is because, AI can only enhance what we do.
Yeah.
It makes us better at our jobs. It creates invoices faster and layouts faster of rooms and detects, can detect, moisture, fire or odors
Mm.
That just can't be done by the, by the human nose. So
Mm.
technology is nothing but helpful to us in our industry.
Mm.
I can certainly understand the fear that some people have about their jobs or their overall industry. I mean, look at poor graphic designers, for God's
Oh,
sakes.
yeah.
Graphic designers I mean, they're dinosaurs at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
how quick it is to put something in AI and they can kick out a great ad, that just is something that would have taken it takes AI 37 seconds to do. It would have taken a graphic designer 3 days to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there are industries that will be affected. The service industry, in my opinion, I don't care if it's restoration, window cleaning, floor repair or floor changing. We have a mutual friend, Sean, that has a flooring franchise, and
Mm.
AI is not going to AI has helped him have better measurements. I mean, measure twice, cut once. Now it's measure once because I mean, it's perfect.
Mm.
Pick out the right flooring and making new suggestions. And so again, in the service space, I should say, AI and technology is doing nothing besides helping us. It's not hurting us one bit. It is actually making us better at what we're doing on a daily basis. So, in my opinion, I say bring it on because
Yeah.
believe me, we're using it, and I think those that don't are not only foolish, but they will be left behind. And
Mm.
again, you'll see companies like mine continue to thrive because we adopt it and embrace it on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Well, when we edit this video and put it into the system, I will admit that our intro music and some of the graphics and stuff were definitely helped by AI. So, and back in the old days, I would have to hire a voiceover guy and or a woman, and then pay for a musician and things like that. Now my daughters aren't happy with that because I have two artists and one musician. But they're I've said diversify, do more personalized work or something like that.
Yeah.
They love having a franchise business coach as a dad. That's sometimes they can't get away from me fast enough. So
Yeah.
um, it's like saying I was cool in high school. Yeah, they don't believe that either. I don't know that I was that cool actually, but the reality is that business is changing at rapid speed, right? And so one of the benefits of being a best option restoration franchise versus doing it on your own, there's a ton of them. We could talk all day just about that.
Sure.
But when you're on your own, you are on your own. You're in your own head. You don't have a sounding board. Your spouse is tired of hearing about it,
Yeah.
believe me. And when you are competing, you have to be everything. You have to be, like in the book, I talk about the 5 departments: leadership, marketing, operations, technology, finance. Those are all things that every business needs, but not everybody's good at all those things. So you have this entrepreneurial spirit. You want to own your own business, but you don't want to go out and just start over and create your own and be everything, because now the franchisor and the coaches you have on your team are going to be able to round out the strengths of the other as well as the weaknesses. But you're also joining a team where you're going to have the franchisor focusing on technology, AI, all of the different things, the thermal technology. And so you're getting the best of the best all the time. And the franchisor is not going to let you fall behind. You're going to always have the improvement in the system and improvement in your business, which is going to be, a great benefit financially as well as time saving, which is huge, right?
Yeah, I mean, normally, I mean, we're we're actually going through a software change right now,
Oh
which,
boy.
change is difficult.
Yeah.
While it's the best thing for the franchisees and long term, it's going to be great. No one likes change,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was just on the phone with some franchisees just today. It's one of the reasons I came into the office was to talk
Yeah.
to some franchisees, and I don't want to say talk them off the ledge, but I got them laughing and just making them understand that this is a temporary pain, but the franchisor, I mean, you're exactly correct, Rick. I mean, the franchisor, we're here to make sure that we stay on the cutting edge of what's happening so we can offer it to you. And sometimes you got to be, the franchisor, and we're doing this to our franchisees right now. Sometimes you have to, force feed them and say, no, this is what's good for you. I know you
Mhm.
want this other system because you know it and you're comfortable with it. And, but but it is falling behind in today's
Right.
market. And our job is to make sure you have the most cutting edge software that has AI built in, that has, automatic levers that you can pull to just do jobs. And, again, while change is certainly hard for people, it is the franchisor's job to make sure, in my opinion, it's their job to make sure that, sometimes
Mhm.
like a parent, you gotta tell them what they need, not always what they want.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I always tell my clients and the franchisees, remember how the franchisor makes money. The franchisor makes money by having a lot of successful franchisees because they take a little bit with royalty, and that's what makes franchising work. I always say some people think of it as a top-down model, like a corporate structure. And I always say we work for the franchisees. Our structure is to support the franchisors, and the franchisor structure is to support the franchisees. In the book, I call it the upside down pyramid.
Yeah.
And the franchisees are the beneficiaries of all of that knowledge, experience and all of those things all the time. And the franchisor, a good one, should wake up in the morning and say, how do I get, more success for my franchisees? How do I take some hurdles out of their way? In your case, how do I get that new technology on board? And one of the problems with people that are running their own business is they like the comfort and they're stuck in the rut. And so that's how they get left behind, like you said. And so the franchisor, you do a bunch of testing, you do a bunch of shopping, you have people on your team that are responsible for technology. And when you narrow it down to something, your owner's advisory committee gives feedback, you really vet that thing out, and then you get down to a decision that's going to benefit them, right? Why would a franchisor, a good franchisor, why would they do anything to hurt the franchisees? I
Right.
mean, that's cutting off their financial future. So you're right, you're 100%. One of the things that's very unique about you, Nick, is that you built a successful franchise and then you were able to sell it, right?
Mhm.
And not everybody that I work with has that story, or maybe they don't have it yet. And so if you're a franchisor, or you're a potential franchisor and you're thinking about, you've been working your business for 15 years or 20 years, and you think, I'm going to just build this thing up and then when I'm going to sell it and then retire, right? As a single business, you have a business that does any kind of a service business or mobile business or even a restaurant or anything like that. The problem is that you think it's worth more than it is, right?
Right.
And I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying in general, people think that my business is worth millions when they get to the end of that and they're, they're bringing in, even if they're bringing in $1 million a year, by the time a buyer gets into the closet and finds the skeletons and all of those things, that number gets down to a number they can't live on. They certainly can't travel the world and do things like that. And they get a low multiple. And explaining this simple way, a multiple is how many times EBITDA, or seller's discretionary earnings, you're going to get in a sale. And the average, non-franchise business might get it 2 or 3 times, plus assets if they have them. And in a franchise model, I've heard of companies that get maybe 8 to 13 times their EBITDA, and that's a whole other conversation as well.
Yep.
But when you build up 100, 200, 500 units, you have something that's an equity building asset that can be worth a lot. And so tell us a little bit about the journey. And you don't have to get into your private information, but just for those that are thinking about an exit plan someday, that want to build either something, the legacy down to their children, or sell. Uh, Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Sure, sure. Well, I can say I'm not a legacy person. I've told my kids, I mean, they're again 13, 10, and 8. I've told them, Daddy's not leaving you anything as far as business goes. So, I mean, you'll have financial stability, but I'm not going to leave you a company. You got to build one yourself.
Yes, sir.
Um, so I mean, I build things to sell. I don't build them to keep. So How to build one for legacy, man, that's your next guest. Let me tell you how to sell it though.
Right. Sorry, kids.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll
I
get
mean,
some coaching out of dad, but that's
yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
that's what they'll get. I was just talking about this with my son, and he said, because at 13, he thinks he wants to be a doctor, and I said, okay, that's fine. And there's two ways to go about it. You can go work for a hospital or work for something, or you can create your own kind of clinic or be a
Hmm.
doctor or a surgeon, and I can teach you how to grow a business that way.
Yeah.
Anywho, I said it earlier. I kind of gave that tip, and I kind of just threw it out there. I'll say it again. So January of this year, I've stepped away again from the company. So in other words, what I'm saying to the group here is that I've created another system that is a machine that is running without me being here on a daily basis. I have a management team that operates it, and I have a president, a vice president, a director, a liaison to the franchises. I have my management team in place. Now I own the company 100%. I don't have any partners. I don't believe in partners. I'm terrible with partners.
Yeah.
I just, I don't want to work with partners, so I don't have
Yeah.
partners. Um, but I haven't been in my office now for a month. I mean, I haven't been here for a month. Franchises have been onboarded, trainings happened. They're planning the annual meeting. I walk in and kind of get caught up. I'm like, what's going on? How is everything? I had not outright abandoned the company. I'm just trust, you hire the people, then trust them to do the job. So, you know, one way to get the highest multiple is have the company not be you. A lot of people out there, let's say they have a hardware store, and you hear these stories, and usually New York, New Jersey is where I always hear them about, where Uncle Fred had a hardware store for 47 years, and he went to retire, and he wanted to sell it, and he couldn't because no one was buying.
Yeah.
Why? Because Uncle Fred had a job. Being self-employed is not the same as being a business owner. I don't care what anyone says, and that's something that business owners intimately understand, that people that are self-employed have a hard time. They're like, well, wait a minute, I'm a business owner. I work for myself. Yes, you work for yourself.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Self-employment means you have something that you do, and if you lose your arm or poke your eye out or cut your tongue out, the business stops. You know who's self-employed? Which is, you can be self-employed and make a lot of money. You can be a doctor and be self-employed. You can
Hmm.
be dentists who are self-employed. There are plenty of real estate agents that are self-employed, but they're not business owners. A business owner is somebody who can step away, like I have in January, step away from the company, go to, where the heck was I just at? I was just in Hawaii for like 2 or 3 weeks. Go to, go to Hawaii while the business runs without you. That's being a business owner. You own something that operates consistently without you being there. So
Yeah.
one of the best tips I can give somebody is get out of your business. So you
Right.
actually become an owner of something, and then you're building it like an investment, the investment that it actually is. You're creating equity for a large exit. That's how you get the largest multiple, because private equity or someone like me that comes in and buys a company, I don't want to buy a job. I got a job. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a football coach. I have jobs,
Yeah.
but my the way I make money is my business, where I don't actually work.
Yeah.
And investments, but I'm talking about just the business. I don't work here. I make money here, and I collect a salary here, but I'm doing other things, and that's the biggest thing that you can do. That will, when someone walks in, like let's call it private equity walks in, they want to know that they can take, this asset, which is your business, and move it over here, and the money still flows because
Yep.
they don't have to step in and do anything. That's where
Yeah.
you get the highest multiple. What you don't want to do is, be Uncle Frank with the hardware store, that when he's ready to retire at 65 or whenever it is he wants to retire, he realizes you don't have a buyer because no one wants a job. Everyone
Yeah.
wants the business, but no one wants a job. So you have
Yeah.
to really differentiate yourself at some point in the game between being a business owner and being a business operator, which is just another word for being self-employed. So
Yeah.
get out of being self-employed, get out of operating a business, and focus on the ownership of the business. And you know, that's again replacing yourself. Every step of the game in franchising or business itself, if you want to really be a true business owner, is doing nothing more than replacing yourself.
Yeah.
You know, at one time at Best Option Restoration, I wore all the hats. I
Yeah.
created I had to go shop and find the at that time current software system, which is terrible, but current software system at that time. I had to create all the documents. I did all the selling, all the training, all the onboarding, all the paperwork.
Mhm.
I worked with the attorneys myself. Um, it was me. I
Yeah.
had a job because I started a new company. So my job was Best Option Restoration Franchise Group. That was my job.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward 8 years, again, January of 2025, I stepped away. I don't have any daily operational responsibilities with Best
Mhm.
Option Restoration. I have a team that does that. So again, the tips are be a business owner, not a business operator. Nothing wrong with being self-employed. You can make a handsome living doing so. But if you're talking about exits with multiples, being a business
Mhm.
operator is never going to give you the multiple that being a business owner will.
Yeah. That's a fact. Work in your business or on your business.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they think that they have to be the one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm,
it takes a while. Takes a while. I remember when we first met, and there you had several franchises with Bio1.
mhm.
Wasn't too many, and I mean you are dynamic, and you were a speaker. I don't know if you're allowed to say who you were working with.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but Tony Robbins, I think his name was, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So you were on stage around the world, and uh, I used to tease Nick. I said if he had a franchise question, he didn't call Tony, he called me. Tony's doing a little better than me, I think, overall. But the, you know, people see you on stage and they want to, like you said, they want to be a part of you, of whatever you're doing. And I remember at the very beginning saying, these early owners had your cell phone number. I know it's hard, but we can't have your cell phone number. You got it. And now look at you. You got this amazing, amazing life from franchising. And there's no better way, in my opinion, to invest in yourself and bring a company up that helps others, and then be able to step away and let others run it. And that's really the key of really becoming a successful franchise in the marketplace, not just in there working away. And you don't want to repeat all that hard work. I mean, the point of franchising is to be able to step away so that it's not going to fold up if anything happens, or if you get away from it a little bit. So that's awesome. So let's do a couple rapid fire things here, just quick answers, and
Sure.
then we can kind of wind things up here in a little bit. Favorite business book or mentor?
Tony Robbins.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah, book. I mean, pick one of his books. I mean, I've read pretty much all of them.
Very cool. One thing every franchisor should stop doing.
Micromanaging.
Trying to run.
Hire the talent, let them do the jobs.
Very good. One underrated franchise brand, not yours, that you admire.
Um, well, gosh. I've been out of franchising now for the last 5 months. I don't know. I don't know if I have an answer for that. Gosh, because I wasn't ready for that question. I don't know. I'm gonna have to skip.
Okay, pass.
Sorry.
Yeah, phone a friend.
Yeah.
What's a core belief that guides how you build businesses?
A couple. I'll never ask a franchisee to do something I wouldn't do myself.
Mm,
Um, and that includes my management team. And I'm a big fan of, it sounds corny, but what would Jesus do? I mean, I
amen.
do the right thing every
Mm,
time, and you
well,
can't go wrong.
I believe that too. That's incredible. Okay, and sometimes franchisors think they have it all together and they're making their own decisions and doing things. And again, sounding board. So one of the things that we tell people that are already franchised that are kind of stuck, maybe they're stuck in the doldrums. If you don't know what that means, get my book and read it. But or they're just kind of feel like things are getting away from them. Maybe the franchisees are not happy. And we always tell them that get a coach. Doesn't matter if it's our team or somebody else, but You can't be alone at the top and not have the ability to bounce things around with somebody, because even if you have an executive team, you're the CEO of the company and you have a COO and a CMO and those people, but those people work for you. And if they work for you, they can only feel comfortable taking things so far, right? Even if they do, and you've invited them to be honest and give their honest opinions about things, they pull the punches a lot because their job's on the line, or at least they think that it is.
Mhm.
What's the benefit of having a coach work with a franchisor, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, beyond, like you said, besides just the sounding board, when you're on the field, and I relate a lot of things to sports. When you're on the
Right.
playing football, and let's say I'm the quarterback, I can only see what I can see about 10 yards in front of me. When I
Mm.
have Rick Grossman in the box, that's
Mhm.
200 feet above me and can see the entire field, he might have a different perspective. The coach might have a different perspective that's in the box than I can possibly on the field. So it's not that the coach is smarter, or maybe they've done it before, or they have a different perspective that I don't have. And they can see things a little bit further, like, oh, no, don't throw it across the middle because the safety's cheating over and you can't see that because you got a big old lineman in your face. You can't see that.
Yeah.
And the coach can. So again, there's no shame in coaching. There's no shame in having a coach. It's important. It's an important thing that you invest in and invest into your future. Coaching is again, I mean, Rick, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share this, but I will. And you can edit whatever you want, Rick. So, I mean, years ago, I mean, I reached out to Rick, and we had a very serious issue because of me in franchising, that I said, Rick, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I might lose the entire group.
Mm.
Rick, in his infinite wisdom, sat back and he was like, calm down. Let's think about and talk about what's going on so we can figure out how to fix this. This isn't the first time we've dealt with this, but to a newer franchisor, it was catastrophic. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't see through the weeds of what was going on. It was all foggy. And Rick and his team were very, I mean, gosh, it was, decade plus ago, but Rick and his team were very, let's, step by step. There's a process to this. And it's not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
It might hurt financially, but it's not the end of the world, because again, you're not the first person to accidentally do this. And that's where coaching is it's a calm in the storm. It's a coaching can be a, a, a a level set when you're just off kilter and you don't know where to go. Again, that coach in the box that's 200 feet above you that can see the entire field, not just what's going on right in front of you. So coaching is, coaching's key.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I didn't pay him for that, believe it or not.
No.
So as we wind up here, remember that we have business owners and potential franchisees and franchisors. A lot of these tips, we talk a lot about being a franchisor, but if you're a potential franchise owner, and you're thinking about a franchise, you're going to look for these key things, right? You're going to want to look for a franchisor like Best Option Restoration or Bio1, where the leadership team resonates with what you believe in, right? You don't want to get into a franchise that when you talk to their people, it feels like they're hardcore sales pitching you, because that doesn't work in franchising. And so you want to see that they're going through a thoughtful process. You want to see that they're investing the appropriate amount of time into educating you. It's a big decision to buy a franchise.
Yeah.
And I always say, you put on the colors and go out there every day. The interesting thing, using a, sports analogy, which I don't do very much because I don't know sports is anything anywhere near what Nick does. But the interesting thing about franchising is you're all in the same team, but you're rarely on the field together, and you're across the country or even international. You're all part of that brand. And that's why I love the annual convention. I'm going to be speaking at conference for one of our new franchisors. They have 13 units and they're growing. Very cool. I'll be working with them. It's so fun to watch them grow and watch them grow the right way. But I always love the convention, the annual conference. And when I was a franchisor of my own brands, that was the best time of year. You get everybody on the field together and really enjoy each other's time and rewards and things. And I'm going to close out by asking you a little bit about some of your incentives. But the reality with a franchise is you're rarely on the field together. So it's important that you find a franchisor that's committed to making sure you don't feel alone, that has the ear for hard things. Because no matter how good the franchise is, there's going to be hard things, right? I had a lot of brick and mortar franchises that really had a hard time getting through COVID.
Mhm.
And one of them was a fitness model that had a lot of locations. And when they said you have to close all your locations, that's pretty tough, you know.
Yeah.
And they didn't see it coming. Who would have thought that could have happened? Restaurants that were
Yeah.
told that they couldn't, they had to do only curbside. Can you imagine having a 2 or 3 thousand square foot restaurant that
Yeah.
does $600,000 or $800,000 a year now, and you got a staff of 35 people, and they have to close indefinitely and only do curbside? I saw some of the most incredible. If you look at some of our old, um, I also head up the franchise advisors program for for Entrepreneur Magazine, and if you go there, you can see some old episodes. We did a series. Nick will remember, he was a guest with us for the franchise challenge,
Mhm.
fight for your franchise challenge. And we had a lot of restaurant franchisors and franchisees talking about all the things they did to adapt. How did they work through these things? And so you're going to have some things that happen no matter what. And so make sure you pick a franchisor that is committed and has that servant leader philosophy and ethos. They're going to care. They're going to give you the support you need. They're not going to run your business for you.
Right.
It's your business. You have to work hard, but you have to make sure you gel with them.
Yep.
And so keep that in mind. And if you're a business owner, a lot of these things are gold nuggets. Think about the things like you have to run your business as a business and not as a job. And if you run it like a job, something happens to you and you're done. Or if you run it like a job, it won't be worth much when you try to sell it if
Right.
it's totally entwined with you as an operator. And if you're thinking about franchising, there's a lot of really fun ways to build an incredible business and have at least some more control over that than investing in things that you have no control over. And you can turn it up and grow it as fast as you want. I have one client that grew to over 1,000 units in 3 years, and then some are happy to grow on a more a slower pace, and maybe grow to 50 units and then 100 units and over several years, whatever is the appropriate scale for the individual. So one of the things you're very good at, Nick, and there's a ton. I mean, I could do hours just all the cool things you bring to the table, but fun incentives. One of the things I love about conference is that you have all the franchise owners there, and that maybe some of their staff, and you're able to recognize people in front of their peers, which has always been my favorite thing. I was a franchisor of two of my own brands, and that helps us with our coaching, of course, and we always enjoy that. So talk about some of the ways that you offer incentives to franchisors and franchisees that are part of your brand, and ways to incentivize, because you want to inspire your franchisees and you do that well.
Yeah, well, I can say one of the biggest ways we do it is we have a Rolex club where
Mhm.
any franchisee, any first year franchisee, and we give them 14 months. We give them, the first couple months because they're getting through training and get their equipment. So we can't be from the time they sign their
Right.
agreement. It's not fair. So we give
Yeah.
them 14 months. In the 14-month period, if they hit $1 million in revenue, they get a Rolex. I buy them a Rolex.
Cool.
I bought 5 last year,
Wow.
I think 4 the year before. This year, I know right now there's 3 that's already out there because they've already hit their million mark.
Nice.
And the meeting this year is in November. So over the course of, let's just call it, I don't know, gosh, 6 more months from now, I'll be very curious to see how many more Rolex I'm buying as of right
Yeah.
now. Again, I'm three for this year. You know, I love giving away the Rolexes because we do it at the annual meeting. It's a big deal. It's the very first thing we do. We say,
Nice.
hello, thanks for coming. Glad to see everybody. Let's find out who's getting a Rolex this year. And I got the green boxes that are sitting there.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. We make a big to-do out of it. And it allows the franchisees who have earned their Rolexes to walk around all week with a trophy on their wrist and talk to the people that are trying to get the Rolexes. What did you do? How did you do it? What do because only about 20% of the group do it. And
Yeah.
it's $1 million in revenue your first year. And I don't care any business. That's a tough
That's
number.
awesome. Yeah.
And so when you do it, we want to make a real big deal out of it. And the Rolex Club to me is one of the coolest things that I can do. I'm a big watch guy myself, so
Yeah,
I
I remember
I have
that.
an in to some, to a couple of authorized dealers that I work with that I can go get Rolexes, and so it's nice to give them back. And again, the guys are real appreciative of it, and they've earned it. They've earned every penny of it.
That's very cool. And it's different. There's the glass awards and things that you can put in your office. And especially if you're a mobile service, it's a little bit, nobody ever sees that office probably, but you have something that you can actually use. That's very cool and probably something you wouldn't buy for yourself, even if you were making a lot of money, right?
That's
Business,
normally, yeah.
business owners think like I can buy another truck or I can add more people. And so it's a
Right,
nice gift.
right.
That's a wonderful, wonderful idea. Any last bit nuggets before we wrap up?
One of the things, and I get asked a lot, from people, not so much anymore because I'm not on stage as much as I used to be, but I get asked a lot from people, what's the one piece of advice I can give? And I will tell people right now, and I say that I've been saying it for years. Rick, I've probably said it on other shows we've done together, and we've done quite a few.
Yeah.
But um, I think, I can honestly say nothing happens as fast as you want it to. Nothing.
Mm,
And
right.
it's the patience, not only from the franchisor side, but from a franchisee side. Everyone has these grand delusions of what's
Mm,
going to happen, and oh, I'm gonna buy 3 or 4 territories, and I'm gonna kill it. You're
yeah.
probably not.
Right.
So I'm going to hold you back and let you and buy one and let you understand the business. And
Yep.
my job as the franchisor is to make sure that you take care of yourself. And again, being that coach,
Mm,
on from the franchisor side, I mean, I can see things that the franchisee can't see coming yet. So sometimes you got to protect them from themselves. And I think that's, by telling people nothing happens as fast as you want it to,
yeah.
usually, and
Yes.
and uh, and that's to me, that's one of the keys to franchising or just business in general is be okay with it not, being as fast as, I mean, the plans are, what do they say, Rick, that, you make plans and God laughs at them or something, or
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Uh,
it's
uh,
the it's hard to plan. So
it
just
is.
take it one day, work your face off. Please do that. Take it
Yep.
one day at a time. Don't get too high on the highs. Don't get too lows on the lows. It's
Yep.
just it's
It's
business. It's business.
business.
Yeah.
It is business. Like Mike Tyson's saying too, that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face,
That's right.
right?
100%.
And
Yeah.
the franchisor's job is to help you, recover from those stumbles and your
Yeah.
highs are higher and your lows are lower, or your highs are high and your lows aren't as low, I should say. So that's awesome advice. So folks, if you apply these things, no matter what you're doing in business, you're going to really save time and money. And that's the idea for the America's Next Big Franchise podcast and the services that surround that. And the reason we say that is that everybody wants to be a part of the next big thing, right? And what we learn is that any one of those things, I always say you have to have a good model, you have to be willing to be coachable as a franchisor, and you have to have something that's legal, moral, and ethical. And if it makes money, we're in good shape. So if you have something like that, maybe other people could benefit from it. And there's a market all over the United States. We're the birthplace of franchising here in the U.S. And uh, the uh, the folks are out there that are looking for entrepreneurial ventures. So once you get it all together, it could be a very, very successful route for you. And if you're looking to shortcut some of the pain and suffering of starting a business on your own, buying a franchise is a wonderful way to get on the fast track. You just have to find the right one. There's a lot of franchise opportunities, so narrow it down to the right ones, like Best Option Restoration, and you'll find the good match, and then you'll be doing great. Nobody can do what they don't like to do. Even if you can fake it for a while, you don't have to be in love with it. It just has to be a good fit for you. You have to be willing to work it. So, thank you, Nick. You're always one of my favorite guests and good friend. Definitely, we've been through a lot together, and certainly a good friend that I call on when we need to share ideas. And that's been a lot of fun. So I appreciate it. So we're going to wrap it up, folks. Thank you for joining us for America's Next Big Franchise. Of course, with me, Rick Grossman, and Franchise Bible Coach is my company, franchisebiblecoach.com, author of Entrepreneur Magazine's Franchise Bible, which you can see back behind me there. A great resource too if you're looking to just kind of see what franchising is all about. My co-author is Michael Katz, who's one of the best franchise attorneys in the world, in my opinion, and a good start. And so you can get that on entrepreneur.com or Amazon. So thanks again, everybody. We're going to wrap it for today. We'll see you next time.
America's Next Big Franchise, sharing strategies to help businesses grow.